Hi, my name is Rock Santos, co-founder of Q Swimwear, and I'm a swimmer. We've created a swim brand by swimmers, for all swimmers. Even the last swimmer in the water. Yeah, you know who you are, standing there waiting for, exactly what are you waiting for? You know the water, it's not going to get any warmer. Q Swimwear, a brand for all swimmers, even the last swimmer in the water.
This is the Morning Swim Show for Thursday, December 23rd, 2010. I'm your host, Peter Bush. The theme of the show today is comebacks. There were a lot of swimmers who threw their hat back into the ring, or cap back into the pool, if you will, in 2010. Some we expected, like Libby Trickett. Some completely out of the blue, like Janet Evans. Swimming World TV producer Garrett McCaffrey recently talked to former Olympic champ Tom Dolan, who questions whether these types of comebacks are good for the sport and the athletes.
I mean, I think there's always two sides to it, in the sense of, are you coming back because you do have a passion, or are you coming back because you have a lack of a passion for pursuing something else? Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, I'm a big believer in passion in whatever you do, and I think, having said that, I also, you know, fully understand and am aware of the fact that, look, you can't just turn over one stone and find your next passion. It just, life doesn't work that way, and it's kind of, I think one of the great pursuits in life is to continue to search for that passion. And to me, I define successful people as people that find multiple passions in their life through the course of their life. Whether that's, you know, being part of 3, 4, 5 different businesses that you start, or different careers that you're a part of. I mean, I think that's one of the great kind of pursuits in life. And I guess my only worry is that I just would hope that in our sport that passion is truly focused on the sport itself and everything that goes, you know, with it. That's the competitive side and the camaraderie and the work ethic and all the great life skills that we get from the sport, and not that something else was tried outside of it and they couldn't kind of, you know, that passion wasn't matched or equaled, and therefore they came back to it. I think, to me, that's a little bit of a danger zone.
Do you think it's passion or success? Because there's very few opportunities to be truly great at something. I mean, I'm sure you're a good business person and a great business mind, but you are the best in the world at something. I mean, did that take a real step back to realize, all right, I'm not going to be the best in the world at business. There's not the same kind of platform or competitive pool to prove that. I need to change my idea of success, because I think that's what the problem is, and I think that's what Rock would argue, that you have a very small window to be truly great and reach the pinnacle and be the best in the world at something. And that's what people get caught up in, because, you know, getting close to that level, I guess more people in our sport are closer to that level than they maybe ever will be in anything else in the rest of their life, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more than fair and 100% accurate to say that. And I think that's not, I guess I don't view that as a bad thing. And I guess it all depends on the perspective that you have while you're in the sport. I mean, I think I didn't swim or continue to swim with the sole goal in mind that being number one in the world and what I did was the only focus. I think for me, it was so much more about the process of how I got there, and the road that I kind of traveled, and the amount of workouts or the amount of yardage I could do in a week, and kind of challenges like that were much more of a motivating factor for me than to be able to say I'm the best in the world or I'm the world record holder. And I think when you have that, in my opinion, when you have that perspective, I don't think that the end goal then is the focus. I think it's the process of how you get there that becomes the focus, and therefore I think that can transition much easier, to your point, to real life. Because I don't think in what we do now and in any business venture that I have, I don't think I ultimately look at the end goal of am I the best in the world at this, or the best in this region at this, or does it compare to swimming? Because I think the way I look at it is much different. I think I look at it from taking kind of the process again itself and the guts of what I learned from that time in my life in swimming, and applying it to what I'm doing now, rather than saying, okay, here was the end goal that I achieved in swimming, and that was, world records or gold medals or NC2As or however I would look at it. I don't immediately then apply that to what's the end goal in business. I think what I look at is what are the life skills and the, I think, kind of personal lessons that I take from that experience, and I can place them into this experience and then utilize those to become successful as I can be, and I guess almost in my own mind rather than on a ranking or a comparison way. And I think it's no different than the struggle that I think all Olympic athletes have, in the sense that we live in a world that is very narrow focused, and it's kind of like a racehorse with blinders on, and you look down that lane, and that's how you lead your life for a long time. And again, you're talking about, for most of us, when our parents let us out of the house, again, when we were 5 years old, that's what we went and did. And I think it's easy to forget that when you get to the elite level of the sport and you're worried about making a living, and are you paying your rent, and what contract is out there, and are you putting yourself out to the public in the right way, and I think there's a lot of things that go into it that make that life a little bit more complicated as you kind of step by step go up the ladder. And those are all beautiful things, and they're fun things, and it's not to say that they're not, but I think that when you kind of compare that life to, again, the quote-unquote real world, you have to be careful, in my opinion, in the sense of not trying to match the ultimate end goal of each one, but that, it sounds corny and it sounds cheesy, and it sounds like, it's straight from a motivational speech template, but it is true that the reason this sport is great is that what we take from it is not determined by how fast we went when we did it. And I think the single favorite takeaway I have from the sport of swimming is that all of my friends I grew up swimming with Rick and on Curl Burke, whether they went a minute in the 100 free or they went 40 seconds in the 100 free, everyone has the potential to take the exact same thing away from the sport to the rest of their life. And to me, that's unbeatable. And I don't think any sport can to the level that we can get out of it can speak to that. And so I guess that's really how I view it more than anything else. And I think as I go on to do other things, it's, perfect example, I went and worked for an investment bank for 4.5 years. Would I qualify that experience as becoming one of the best, traders in the United States? Not even close. I wasn't even one of the best in the row that I sat in. But I was okay with that because I love the starting from the bottom and being challenged to work my way up again and having to answer to people. And look, we live in a weird world in when you come from the elite levels of swimming, because to your point, at 19, or I guess I was 18, I was, in the history of the sport, the fastest ever in the 4 IM. Now, I would never, one of the beauties of life is at 18, you don't have the capability mentally to look at it that way, which is what keeps us going. I think if you did, you'd scare yourself just looking in the mirror and fall down. And I think that's one of the great things about kind of the progression of how you view life in an athletic arena, is that I never thought twice about any of that. And it was kind of like, wow, man, my backstroke was so slow, it could be so much faster, so I know I can go faster. And that was my takeaway more than anything. And I think it is a bizarre reality to think that at 18, there's no one that's ever been faster. And I think that goes no different than doing a best time. But back to my buddies that swim Division III college, I don't think it matters what level you are. I think the beauty of the sport is you can get the same out of it. And I think it would be an unfair reality to face if you constantly had to compare to, am I at 35 as successful as I was at 18 or 20 or 22? Well, I'm never going to have in my life an arena again where I can measure it so simply on how fast did it take for you to get from point A to point B. Yeah. And I think it's a nice world to live in, but I don't think that's not how life works when you're done. And I think it's one of the struggles that a lot of swimmers have, is it is a constant comparison back and forth, and I don't think it's about that. I think again, to me, it is what a great opportunity to be part of a sport that gives so much back to you, much more so than you gave to it, which is saying a lot considering we're getting up and getting in freezing cold water at 4:30 for years on end. And you know, I mean, the year we trained for the Olympics, I did 100,000 a week for, well, I don't know, 40 weeks of the 52 weeks of the year. I mean, we're talking about a long time and a lot of commitment. And I would still say it's not even close to what you get out of the sport versus what you put in. And I think that's because for the next 70 years, hopefully, you know, I can find that success. And in my mind, that will be the equal amount of success to what I had before, because I'm using all of those lessons that I learned from that experience in whatever I do next. And regardless of what, again, that end result would be, to me, the success is being able to take that and put it over here and kind of use those life skills.
Pretty interesting topic. We encourage your feedback. Go to swimmingworld.com in the reaction time or on swimmingworld.tv in the comments section. Tell us what you think about the idea of all these athletes making comebacks. All right, that's it for today's show. I'm Peter Bush, reminding you to keep your head down at the finish.